Thanks for sticking with us, everyone. We are still continuing our conversation with Mr. George Godfrey, who's also known in the world of hip-hop and music as Sweet G, who was recently inducted into the National Hip-Hop Museum in D.C., along with several other big names in hip-hop for that 1983 record, Games People Play. Once again, congratulations.
Thank you.
You were telling us before the break that your journey into the world of hip-hop started in the 1970s, 1975 in Bronx, New York at Club Fever, a club that you helped build that got international and national media attention.
Yeah.
But you also linked up with one of the biggest names in hip-hop, and that is Curtis Blow. You guys really made magic and history together. Tell us how you got to working together in the studio for Games People Play.
Well, Curtis used to come up there and he, excuse me, he performed one Saturday night at the Fever, and that's how I got to meet him. And we started talking and everything. And I knew of him from the record The Breaks, which was a super record, and Christmas Rapping, of course, which is played every year during Christmas time. So we started talking, and prior to having met with Curtis, I had made a record on West End Records called Heartbeat Rap. Tello with Fever had just put out a record label called The Fever. It was called Fever Records. And Curtis said, why don't you do a song, put a record out as your premiere record or your first record on your label using Sweet G, because he had heard me rapping at the club and so forth.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, what are you talking about? He said, no, G, you'd be good for it. I said, you serious? He said, yeah. So we sat down and, we chit-chatted about it and threw it around and see, what would really be good, if it would be good. And so he says, let's get some studio time and go in. So we went into the studio. We had written, myself, Sal, Bill Warren, William, who writes most of Curtis Blow's stuff. We went into the studio and we started scribbling some stuff down to see what would blend with what we wanted. Now, basically, I am a trained classical singer, so I sing opera and all of that good stuff. And I was saying to him, how in the world are you going to incorporate me singing and rapping? He said, we're going to do both. You're going to do part singing, and you're going to do the other part, we're going to rap.
And I want to take a quick moment because it happened, and I want our viewers to listen to a snippet of Games People Play. Take a listen.
Speak your mind and then you'll say you just get know what the game people play. Games people play. Games people play. Games people play. Games people play.
Wow, that sounded so good. So you were one of the first to incorporate singing and rapping on a hip-hop track. We already hear that with Drake and Nicki Minaj all the time, but I would say it sounds like you invented that.
Yes, you can say that.
Yeah.
But not only that, the record, it took off. It was #1 on KTU, KISS, and BLS. And BLS at that point in time had not been playing a whole lot of rap music.
And that was the local radio station in New York.
Right, with Frankie Crocker.
Okay.
And they played it. And I was talking to a DJ when we did the induction, RBI, he's the DJ for the National Hip Hop Museum. And when we did an interview, a Zoom interview, he had told the director, Jeremy Beamer, he said, that keyboard track that G has in his record, Games People Play, he said that has been sampled over 40-something times.
Wow.
And I said to myself, I said, really? He said, listen. And he played a bunch of records, and he said, you could hear the keyboards. I said, that's really good. I ain't get a dime for that.
Oh, no, y'all need to run Sweet G his money, okay? We got to find them and let them know we need the royalties off of that. But I want you to describe the moment that you heard that song on the radio. You heard your voice. And then, we're talking about 1983. Who else was out at the time? Michael Jackson. You had some boy
Michael
groups.
Jackson, New Edition with Candy Girls, a couple other artists that I really can't remember. But I remember those two because we kept battling back and forth for first place on these radio stations. Myself, the Games People Play, Michael Jackson with Billie Jean, and New Edition with Candy Girls. So my partner, my DJ, God rest his soul, Junebug, we were driving up the Major D Expressway. He had this little Fiat, and we had just come from the independent record company that gives us sample records of people coming out. It's a record pool. So we listened to BLS, and they started to doing the rundown, and they said #3, blah, 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 was Michael Jackson. #2, Candy Girl, New Edition. And #1 record this week, Sweet G, with games people played. The keyboard track came in. We stopped the car in the middle of the highway, a 3-lane highway in a major digger. We just said, yeah, baby.
Oh my gosh, I know they had to be super exciting
Oh
for you.
my God, the car horns were blowing and blowing and blowing. We're like, yeah.
That's our song. That is really fun, and that is exciting for sure. Now, did you imagine that moment in the middle of the highway, stopping traffic, happy that you heard your song on the radio, will then turn into this prestigious honor of being inducted into the National Hip Hop Museum? When did you get the call, and when you found out who you were being inducted with, I can only imagine the excitement again. Did you stop traffic yet again?
No, it didn't have to stop traffic. Because this was supposed to have been over last summer, but due to some difficulties, it didn't happen. Then it was supposed to be in October, but the government was thinking about shutting down, and it was supposed to be on the Washington Mall, an outdoor concert, free to everybody. So when that didn't happen, we tried to get it, the owners tried to get it at the Commanders Stadium in Washington, but the price was more than people were willing to pay. So Jeremy Beamer had come to me, he said, "Gee, we're gonna get it done, but we're gonna do it in the spring." I said, "You the boss, whatever you say." So I got the call about, this is April, about the middle of March, and Jeremy asked me, he said, "Gee, how you doing?" I said, "I'm doing good, doing good." He said, "What are you doing on April 4th? I said, "What you want me to do?" He said, "Well, we're thinking about having the induction, your induction, along with some other people on April 4th. I said, "Oh, that's great." I said, "My birthday's April 5th, so I can incorporate that celebration with it." He said, "Okay." He said, "I'll get back to you in a couple of days and let you know if it's concrete." So I waited. And, every time my phone went off with a weird number, I was like, "Oh, that's not him. That's not him." But when he called back, he said, "Yeah, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it on April 4th in Washington at the RIAA." I was like, "Oh my God, that's a big place." He said, "Yeah, we're gonna do it, and you're gonna be inducted with KRS-One, Curtis Blow, Roxanne Shante,
Wow.
Queen Lisa Lee, Shyrock, DJ Hurricane, the B-Boys, the Fat Boys." And I was like, yeah!
Yes, another exciting moment. Well, we're going to take a quick break. When we return, we're going to hear more about that induction ceremony, see some more pictures, and we're going to learn more about the birth of hip-hop with Sweet G. We'll be right back.